now when it comes to the healthcare bill, and when it also comes to the new budget, which you call...
I call his new budget, if you look at it, every place where they're suggesting to drop appropriations are areas that involve helping vulnerable populations. And every place they want to increase appropriations have to do with aggression and anger. I thought it was the ultimate lack of empathy budget I had ever seen in my life. I thought this is absolutely it's the most narcissistic budget I've ever seen. And yet what's so interesting is it's a great trick of the eye, because the very people who are going to suffer most under these healthcare changes are probably going to say, yeah, America's great. We have lots of guns and soldiers and wars. And you want to say, but my God, you're not going to be able to afford your medication. And those dots are not being connected. If somebody could connect those dots more clearly, that would actually be quite useful. I hate to say it. It's going to require a lot of Americans showing up at their doctor's offices and not being able to pay their bills. It's going to take a few years before a lot of his supporters realize this one.
Okay, well, let's just say that they realize it today.
Okay, that would be great.
That would be great. And what could they do then to turn the tide in their favor? So whether it's something in the budget that's about to be cut, or it's something that is in the healthcare bill that's going to endanger them. How can they? Because again, I feel like this could play into his narcissism, because these are his voters, these are his people, and he keeps repeating, it's all about them. And you've stated it's not, but it's about how he looks and his poll numbers, right? He cares about that.
Right.
What can they do?
So at some level, listen, they're going to have to work at one level lower in government, and they're going to have to work with those who have moderate Republican, representatives.
Yeah.
Those moderate Republicans may be their last hope at this point. The conservative Republicans are laughing with glee. They've waited for this non-empathic budget since the Reagan era.
Yeah.
So they're thrilled. Okay. The Democrats are going to fight as hard as they can, but there's just not enough of them. So, but it is going to require... it was interesting. Recently, I had read a report about how Trump made a phone call to a woman whose fiance was killed in a traffic accident by an undocumented immigrant. Because people get killed all the time, but he just chose to call her because of the circumstances under which.
It benefits his argument.
I guess what we need to do is find Trump supporters who are about to lose dialysis or about to lose health care, or whose elderly mother is about to die because of not getting health care. Those are the messages that his born and bred in those areas of the United States where he won. Those are the stories that need to get marched out there, because when it's those faces out there, then maybe his people will start to notice, because they're going to say, buddy, you lose them, you've lost the whole circus. And so those kinds of impassioned pleas, because he likes those pleas, they play well in his sort of like dog and pony shows he does in the smaller cities. So the question is, can they pull one of those dog and pony shows where they start parading through their healthcare problems? The problem is they haven't launched a healthcare plan yet. Everyone's still benefiting under Obamacare, under the ACA. So it's still working. So once they start dismantling, that's why I'm saying, Tara, it hasn't happened yet. These are all potential plans, but none of this has happened. So I think that it's a wait and see. It's a wait and see. And when it finally happens, those chickens will come home to roost. And I think he may respond. He responds interesting. He hates data. He responds well to individual stories. Narcissists often do. And I have to say, because narcissists are so full of shame, they don't always like being viewed as the bad guy. And so anything that can make Trump be viewed as a bad guy amongst his core supporters could probably galvanize him a little bit to action. And so he'd have to do it in a way, it's like, he's never going to be able to say, well, I'm only going to give healthcare to my voters. He can't write it that way, but he's going to have to then work with his experts and work with his folks on the Hill and amongst his advisors to figure out a way to write that plan that helps those key constituents, a lot of whom are, again, it's going to be Medicare folks and all of that. He's just going to have to figure that out. But they don't have a plan yet. See, this is where the Republicans, healthcare is a tough. They've been, for 100 years, they've been trying to crack this nut. And so they're not going to do it that quickly now. So I think it's going to take a while.
Well, here's the last question then. So getting back to that, he declared, right, that healthcare would be for all. It would be affordable. And I know that's probably our bell telling us time to go. So that's why we're on the last question.